I feel like the idol wrestlers that start these TJPW shows are going to turn around and put on a killer performance one day. I'm rooting for them. So TJPW's Tokyo Joshi Pro 21 event was the first TJPW show that impressed the hell out of me, and it was also the first TJPW show that I finally got it with the promotion. I won't get into the matches on that show and what I loved about them and whatnot. I'll likely save that for another review, but I will say that I thought it was about as close to being a great show that I've seen in a long time. TJPW delivered an event that I want more pro wrestling promotions to deliver around the world. It's a show that it shows like that one that'll keep me around long enough to explore your other shows in the future. And with that being said, TJPW hasn't exactly lived up to that Tokyo Joshi Pro 21 show from earlier this year for me, but that doesn't mean that they're slacking by any means. Their Positive Change show later on in the year was a decent show and still had great matches on it, even if they weren't of the same caliber of matches on that Tokyo Joshi Pro 21 show. Their Positive Chain event was a step down, but not a misstep. I made the decision to cover the Change the Wind Direction event only ever because it was a show taking place on the tail end of a tournament of theirs. I came really close to skipping this show, really only under the impression that it would amount to nothing but another live event of theirs filmed for content on their streaming service, maybe with a few decent matches in the tournament to round it out. And I was both right and wrong. Every single match outside of the 3 tournament matches on the show did absolutely nothing but drag the show down by being utterly forgettable and a complete waste of time, given that nothing of consequence ever happened in any of those matches. I couldn't tell you one moment that happened in any of those 3 matches, and look, I'm not outright against those matches happening in the first place. There has to be enough people around the world that would love to see them. I'm just not the guy that's willing to sit through them. So, while the first 2 matches on the show were honestly pretty great, with them being the first 2 semi-final matches on their Futari No Princess Max Heart Tag Team Tournament, weird name but let's roll with it, the 3 matches that followed at best served to be very boring intermission matches before the finals. And honestly, for me, that intermission nearly turned me off to the entire show. But thankfully, the main event not only saved the entire show for me, but it also tempted me to watch their other live events, if only to see more of the competitors in that main event, especially May St. Mitchell, whom, if anybody knows about my love for the Choco Bro promotion, knows about how I feel about May Saruga. The girl's a treasure. It was handily one of my favorite matches of 2021 so far, and it had completely sold me on the Saki-sama and May St. Mitchell tag team when even on previous shows, I had my doubts about them being able to pull that gimmick off. Maki Ito and Miyu had a killer match against each other at that Tokyo Joshi Pro 21 show, and also the match of the night on that entire show, in my opinion. So the fact that they wound up as a tag team somewhere down the line got a green light from me. And on top of that, they delivered on a match together that surpassed their match against each other from earlier this year. The main event wasn't anything overly spectacular. If you're the type of wrestling fan that values crowd reactions as to what sent a match over the top for you, then this match probably isn't going to blow you away all that much. But for me, as a fan of all 4 women, and especially May, this was complete fan service. Their semi-final tag team matches at the start of the show was great, but their main event was everything that it needed to be or could have been. All 4 women were the absolute highlight of this show without question. Credit to them for killing it like they did. TJPW's Change the Wind Direction 2021 overall was just okay, with the amount of matches that really only served to be filler outside of the actual tournament matches, and if it wasn't for the main event, the score would probably have to be lower for me. Still, I've really been enjoying TJPW as of late, and I'm looking forward to the next show.